Governor, thank you very much for joining us on this very important night and a historic night for your state. What can you tell us about your phone conversation with President Biden today?
Well, good evening, Lawrence. I think all of us know President Biden's compassion and just basic human decency certainly needed that. And I think the two of us speaking in the minutes after the verdict was read, I don't know if relief is it, but I think I could hear in President Biden's voice a hopefulness that we got something that I think, as the prosecution said, we all saw, we all knew in our heart. And I think President Biden, just like I've been talking about, is that as the Floyd's family pain was laid bare to the world over this last year, so was Minnesota's pain and our failings. But we know we can do better. We know we have to do better. And I think just listening to the point that this isn't about Black Minnesotans, this is about all Minnesotans. And so that conversation helped me. The president's team has been working side by side with us, having those conversations with them. And now the work does begin.
Yeah, you said that today. You said, we know our work just begins. So what is next in that work?
Well, I think one of the things is that there's an acknowledgement in Minnesota. Minnesota is an exceptional state. We contribute a lot to the world, and we rank, as I've told people time and time again, at the very top in quality of life indicators, life expectancy, personal incomes, educational attainment, home ownership. But when you disaggregate that, there's not just a little gap. We go from first to 50th if you're Black. And that work begins of us, first of all, naming that, and then making sure that our, for example, education inequities are addressed. We've got a plan called Due North Education Plan. If we're going to follow that North Star, then we need to get that right. And it starts with some of those things, but we have to take away the risk. We cannot have Black youth. We saw it again, almost unimaginably, to watch Daunte Wright die a week ago. We've got to make changes in our legislature that stiffen our post board, the training board, and those that oversee licensing of police. We need to make sure that you don't die for a traffic stop. We need to make sure there's more mental health counselors out there. We can't let these things set and not move. And I think that's the work that has to happen. So we need to bring up all of those things, because it didn't start in the inequities when they ended up with the police encounter. It starts when they're born. And we have the capacity here. We're a wealthy state with resources, and the commitment of folks, it's just this insidious nature that people don't see it, and it's right in front of us. And I think that's the work that needs to happen.
Let's listen to some of what your state's Attorney General, Keith Ellison, who was in charge of this prosecution, said today.
I would not call today's verdict justice, however, because justice implies true restoration. But it is accountability, which is the first step towards justice. We need true justice. That's not one case. That is a social transformation that says that nobody's beneath the law and no one is above it. This verdict reminds us that we must make enduring systemic societal change.
What can you do in conjunction with the Attorney General on this?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the Attorney General. I think the country and the world saw the team that he assembled, just the talent that's there. I had the privilege of serving in Congress with the Attorney General. We've been friends for a long time, and I think he's calling us out for that we need to pass this legislation. They've been moved. Our House of Representatives in Minnesota, there's a lot of folks in there. The People of Color and Indigenous Caucus has a set of things that they want to see in an omnibus bill around police reform. That needs to pass. We have an opportunity with the American Rescue Plan to make investments in our schools, especially our communities of color, healthcare disparities, and those types of things. I think that's what he's talking about, and just changing this. Again, we can do this. We have the ability to do it. It's that societal change that makes it that I think a lot of Minnesotans, Lawrence, and the country, this sense of dread that you've been feeling, this sense of we can't have occupying, large numbers of police on our streets all the time. That's the feeling that Black parents have when they send their kids to soccer practice. And I think maybe it's starting to dawn on some folks that unless this gets taken up now, we're going to be right back here again. And I don't think there's anybody in this state or across the country want to end back here again. And so I'm committed now. I think this gives us the momentum to move these things. I hope we see that in the United States Congress, to move some of the pieces of legislation that are there. But this is what has to happen. And just to be candid with you, we can't be denying the right to vote to black communities when they're saying, thank God we're able to vote for somebody like Keith Ellison to be the Attorney General. Those are the things that bring real change. So we've got work to do.
Governor, for you personally, what has been the biggest part of the learning experience for you on this subject in the last year?
Well, it's listening to that. I fully admit being a middle-aged white guy who grew up in middle America in a town of 300, and I knew everybody, trying to understand other communities, trying to make sure you're out there. I started my teaching career out in Pine Ridge at Wolf Creek. I taught fourth grade for a little while, but trying to understand and hear these communities. And it's really challenging in a state like Minnesota where you see wealth, you see some success around, and why you're leaving folks behind. So for me, I come from the classroom. I'm a classroom teacher, and just seeing how we set those expectations and we put things into play that set the destiny of these children long before they end up at 38th in Chicago under the knee of a police officer. And I think for me is to continue to listen. And then this has been challenging on me, Lawrence. I just have to say, we trying to make sure we don't see our cities burn. This is that catch-22. The more police are there, the more tension it is. The more tension it is, the more chance you have to get things. This idea of getting away from the false narrative, it's not about defunding police. It's about having communities safe in a way that works for them and has them a part of it. And I think my job is going to be, and I don't expect it to be easy, is to try and draw back away from those divisions that we have. Because just like you see across the country, Minnesota's divided, and it's divided geographically, it's divided racially. And we see that the end of all of that is police in the streets, National Guard in the streets, tensions, families ruined, and a city, state, and country on edge. And so for me, it's making sure I'm hearing those communities and making sure that we're willing. Let's try something different. Let's be bold. Let's put things out there and let the community show us the direction to go because they're ready.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.